ready for your close-up?
Hello everybody, I'm Jeremy Shoemaker, ShoeMoney.com. Basically Jen does such a great job covering kind of all areas of contextual advertising. It was when Danny said you're going to be on a panel with her, don't overlap though. It was pretty hard. So basically I kind of was going to take on from my experiences and from talking to other people in the industry kind of what I've learned. So it's kind of where this starts. I basically started on March 8th of 2003 doing AdSense, and this is basically like my first month. I started at like $4 a day, and I thought, wow, that's a ton. And the reason I started was I was working for the bank I was working for, and they were like, how does Google make money? And I said, well, they have this product called AdSense, and it basically contextually targets your site, and then people can determine what ads, or they determine what ads to show on your site, and then from there, people can click on those ads. So just kind of from there, they were like, well, how much do you make? I'm like, I'm not really using it. I'm like, well, why don't you use it? And so I implemented that night. I started making like $4 a day, and I thought I was ready to set the world on fire. So when do you start using ads, really? And really, I think you can kind of stop a site before it starts if you just start throwing up ads. And if you design a site with kind of contextual advertising in mind from the get-go, you're kind of doomed to fail right off the bat. You really, unless you're strictly doing an arbitrage site, which we'll cover that in a little bit. But in my experience, you really need a service-oriented site or having traffic coming in, and then kind of go from there. So again, you don't want to start right off the bat throwing, so it'll kind of detour users. They'll be turned off by it. People see ads now all the time, and so a lot of times when they go to a site and they see ads right away, and they'll immediately just get out of it. So when do you stop? This was probably some of my bigger numbers that I've done, and it was also the last time I used AdSense. I don't know if our biggest days in this group, but we did some pretty good sized days, and this was in August of 2005. In between then, that was when I started really going to conferences and looking and hearing Jen speak and talking to her, and she gave me great tips, and it really just motivated me. So within that year and a half, we really grew quite a bit using contextual advertising. So when do you stop? I don't think anybody's ever talked about when do you stop using contextual ads. But when you get to a certain point like this on a site, you'll start having people waiting in line to do direct advertising. So, they'll want exclusivity. They won't want to share with anybody else, and they're willing to offer you a lot more without the Google middleman. So that's kind of when to stop will take care of itself. So usually when I start now with a new site using contextual advertising is pretty much after we've completed the functionality of the site that we're building. It doesn't mean you have to complete the design, because the ads a lot of time will blend in with the design or become a part of the design. So really and also when you just start putting ads into your site, it'll detract away from the functionality if you're trying to do everything together. So you definitely want to complete the functionality of it, otherwise it'll never get done. Ads in itself can just be a full-time job, and you want to make sure you can devote yourself to that when you're ready for that. Another thing is I usually wait until I have at least 1,000 unique visitors a day. Just seems to be a good benchmark. You definitely don't want to halt the site before. You want to kind of build it up. Like I say, that was kind of at the beginning with throwing ads at people before you're really ready for them. So you don't want to detour people away. So what are the positives of contextual advertising? Definitely it's super easy to implement. Obviously you just cut and paste code. Another very big positive is they totally take out all the hassle of trying to find an advertiser, then negotiating a deal, rebilling them, contracts, all that. It's totally eliminated. And they take really for that service a very small fee. And also you never really have to worry about getting stiffed unless you get banned. We'll cover that too. So the negatives. Well, there's a one-click and gone effect when it comes to contextual advertising. And basically, when somebody comes to your site, the only way for you to get paid with contextual advertising is for them to leave. So a lot of times that isn't your number one goal. So it's really hard to ever build. People aren't going to bookmark your site, if they're just going there, clicking on an ad and leaving, unless, again, that's your number one goal. But for most sites, they want to keep people coming back for more because their goal is not to get people to click on ads, it's to read the content that they have or participate with their site or sell their products. It's not just to click on ads and be gone forever. So another big issue, and this is probably the biggest negative to contextual advertising, is the user experience. They kind of say like what you have on the walls of your house kind of is like an image of you in some respects. And so it's also like what advertisements are on your site are also an image of you. And you can't control that with contextual advertising. So you might have a site about music, and you're going to see this on every site about music. It's going to be nothing but ringtone ads, especially contextually. And I happen to be in that market, and I target that. But it's a side effect to those that actually are doing like lyrics or whatever that have great content. So, and a lot of times, you can control, and you really should watch what contextual ads are being displayed on your page because they're a reflection of you, and you shouldn't ever show an ad to somebody that you would feel bad linking to, because again, it's a reflection of you. So, like an example of that would be like this, which was an email. I changed the real name, but so a guy went to a music site I had, and he clicked on a ringtone ad and feels I owe him money because of all this stuff, or he's going to file FBI charges, whatever. Because the problem is that people really don't understand. A lot of times they don't even know their ads that they're clicking on. It just looks like more content. So they click on the ad, they submit their phone number, and a year later, they figured out they've been paying all this time. And so it's like, you can try to explain to that person what happened, but ultimately they kind of hold you responsible in a way. So it's like, you just want to be careful what ads, and you can block those, as Jen said, you can block those out of your filter. So then there's the gray area of contextual advertising. My father-in-law told me when I was first starting my company and I was having some difficulty deciding which road to go and how to do it properly. And he said, there's things that are really defined as good, white hat, legal, way to go. And there's things that are defined as illegal, black hat, bad, wrong, can't do it. And then in that middle ground, there's a lot of people making a lot of money until things are defined as good or bad. And I really feel in that area is where I like to be. And also, I feel that in that area is really where contextual advertising is shaped. That's where the rules are made, because those people are pioneering a lot of, and really innovating the contextual industry and shaping. I mean, like Jen said, with the 404 pages, you couldn't do that, and that was gray area stuff. And then people started doing it, and they said, well, they're doing it, and it's making us money, it's making them money. What's the real harm there? So let's do that. And then there's a whole, which we're getting into next, which would be the next slide. The innovative or about to be banned is basically the two categories of the gray area. So you basically are doing something in the gray area it's innovative or it's not. And it's really a weird balance there. Images next to contextual ads is definitely a very, very gray area. I've played a lot with them, I've done a lot of testing, and I've gotten warned on some sites and not warned on others. And I've even been in good communication a lot of times. These are just some random ones I'm showing. This one shows ad links, and it's kind of a combo images. It's got an AdWords on top, an image, and it looks like menus. People are going to click on it because they think it's a menu. It probably has a good CTR rate. Very, very gray area. Some more examples. This one obviously is about to be banned. I don't think that's allowed. But again, really, in terms of service-wise, you should go check on that all the time because they're always updating their terms of service. Google seems to be really non-specific about exactly what's allowed and exactly what's not allowed. So communication is very key if you're going to be testing stuff. Obviously, if they saw this, I can tell you now this is allowed. Now, this is some of the newer things that you're seeing where people are actually implementing the AdSense into their design. This is like, a spiral on the side of the design. It looks like it's very much a part of the design. It probably has a great click-through rate. It looks a lot like the content. So there was a recent poll on the Digital Point forums about people using ads, and some people were getting warnings or even suspended in some case, they say, for using ads. And so this guy says, will you stop using images next to the ads? And your options are, hell no, I'm a risk taker, baby, or hell yes, me scary, Google take account away. And really, everybody has mixed kind of views on this that are publishers. That some are willing to take risks and go after it, and some aren't. It's definitely a gray area where everything's being kind of shaped right now. So the people that are pushing the limits are ultimately determining what you can and can't do, and probably making a lot of money at it. Contextual arbitrage is something that just recently, well, it's been around for a long time, but it's just recently hitting the mainstream news. In the last 10 days, I've had 3 different really respected news publications interview me on this specific subject. And I expect it's just going to get bigger. Mostly more people are going to try it. So what is contextual arbitrage? Well, arbitrage is defined as basically the positive cash flow from a market imbalance. This is very simple. So if somebody has one banana they buy it for $3 and they sell it for $2, they've arbitraged $1. So in contextual arbitrage, if you're buying from Microsoft to sell to YPN, the profit is what you're arbitraging. So it's a really simple game that everybody's, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are playing. A lot of people are making money, and it's definitely a gray area. So why is it so profitable? Probably the biggest reason is because the statistics are just right there for you. I mean, you can know what you're spending, what you're making instantly using all the statistics that they give you. It's like I say, it's nothing that's going to go away soon. It's a big problem. There's actually a panel tomorrow that Chris Jones is on, who's in the audience. Last SES is probably the most blogged about panel that I've seen, where they had a whole panel, and actually they had Kim Malone on, who's the president. She's up there, manager of Google AdSense, and she was on that panel and really kind of caught off guard a little bit by what came her way, because they showed example after example of people buying keywords on Google and just making contextual pages that were just nothing but more ads, going to more ads, going to more ads. And they actually showed one example where somebody had to click on 7 ads before they got to motorcycle parts after searching that in Google. So it's a problem that Google's acknowledged, but they make so much money off of it. I mean, are they gonna? I mean, AdSense is their baby, and they make so much money with that. So, I mean, I see them addressing it, but not eliminating it. And it's just going to get more. You're just going to have to develop more skill to make money at it, basically. This is kind of an example of like a good 404 page or an arbitrage landing page people do. Basically, the only content on this page is ads. So, if you were to pick up keywords for a nickel and send it to this page, and these paid, 50 cents to $1, obviously you're going to arbitrage some good coin there. So, again, it's just it's a big industry. It's only going to get bigger. A lot more in the media is coming. This is something I figured out about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's probably most of you have heard of BearShare, right? It's a file sharing program. It's very, 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 very popular. And basically you download it and you can share files with the world. So where the bear gets evil is after you've hit next like 5 times, yeah, I want to install this, yes, I promise, yes, I agree. And then all of a sudden it says, you sure you want to set your web page to google.bear, your home page of your browser to google.bearshare.com. And your only options are to accept or decline. There's no, I don't want to do that, but I still want to install the program. So you hit decline, the installer stops. You can't install the program without it. So it's a little tricky there. So what happens after you do that? Your home page for Firefox, your default page is now google.bearshare.com, which was 4 or 5 months ago an AdSense for search site, and where they actually would show Google AdSense for search for every result. And after I uninstalled it, I still noticed this was still my home page. And then I reset it and rebooted my computer, and it was still my home page. So I don't want to speculate what they're doing, but that's a gray area, right? So a lot of people doing a lot of things in the gray area. So how popular is this? Well, you know, you've all heard of BearShare. So BearShare.com, busy site, right? Well, 86% of the traffic, this is from Alexa, which, you know, you can game it, but it kind of is, will show you where people are going on sites. 86% of the traffic on BearShare.com is either google.bearshare.com or search.bearshare.com. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a big portion of that traffic. So I kind of did what every other scumbag affiliate marketer would do, and I thought I'd get a piece of the bear, right? So I emailed Google and I said, hey, I was checking out, you know, google.bearshare.com, and I'm interested in doing the similar setup on my site, like my site, you know, google.mysite.com. I mean, it seems to work. I can build an application to, what's a nice way to say it? Well, just change people's homepage with their permission. So, but it's like, you know, there's obviously money to be made there with Google AdSense. So they promptly responded 4 days later, and this is paraphrasing because you can't quote Google because they hate it when you do that. But basically they said that I can't do that because what they're doing is breaking terms of service, right? So I thought, boy, I just ruined this guy's day. So, I mean, you know, I have no idea how much money they're making, but, or are making. But I thought, man, that is just messed up. So when I was doing this thing, I was like, wow, that would have been great if I could have shown the BearShare example as an active live example. So I went there 4 days ago, and actually this was still showing what appears to be Google for AdSense, but it's actually using Ask.com, which pulls inventory from Google. So in a roundabout way, they're still getting in. It's a big game, but gray area. I mean, when they told me no, I thought no meant no. But to BearShare, no just means ask, I guess. So, are people really getting banned from AdSense now? Totally. Again, on Digital Point, the owner of Digital Point Forums is right down there, Sean Hogan. He has a great forum. If you don't go there, you should. So, basically, looking on there, I just did a search for I've been banned, right? And I got almost 500 results like that. And just everybody's like, oh no, I've been banned. I hope I don't get banned. Somebody's clicking on things, am I going to get banned? It's a huge thing. They're banning people left and right. But, I mean, obviously, people know why they got banned. They're pushing the gray area. But that's part of playing in the gray area. I mean, you know, you just never know. So who does get banned? Well, it kind of depends on who you are. And in my opinion, how much money you're making, to put it bluntly. So, and just to use some examples, you know, like Eric Schmidt, the Google CEO, said with Danny Sullivan that he clicks on ads because he's interested in the ad or making sure everything is working okay with AdSense, right? So this guy, Bob Shoemaker, my father, has a site whereifish.com, and he said, I clicked on my ads because I wanted more information about the ad being displayed. I purchased items from almost all the places the ads were from. He's been banned. He was banned very fast. And I said to him, what are you doing, you know? And he's like, I wanted to buy the fishing rod they had there. And I did. So it's like, what's right, what's wrong? It doesn't really matter because they have the terms of service in place and you need to follow that. So you can push the gray area, but like I said, there's right and wrong, and this was obviously wrong, unfortunately for my father. So some of the tools for contextual advertising, analytics by far is the best. And this is Google Analytics, but there's all kinds of analytical tools, as I'm sure you're all aware. One of the biggest things I look at is your new versus recurring visitors. So if you just, you're getting ready, you got all kinds of visitors coming in, you want to try contextual advertising, you throw it up, and all of a sudden, maybe you have new people, but your returning people aren't coming back at the frequency they were. Then you need to kind of test out, your ads and stuff, and just the user experience. I kind of preach user experience a lot. That's a big, important thing in the long-term vision of a site, unless it's an arbitrage site and you're just going for one click and gone. But really, so analytics basically, you want to watch that. You want to watch where people are going on your site, where they're disappearing. So just keep that in mind. Statistics are your best friend, really, in advertising. This is a crazyegg.com, which they're in the audience as well. I use their tools for determining where to place ads and also just to get an overall view of the user experience on my site. This is my blog, and on my blog, my number one goal is basically for people to read posts I write. Okay? So I'm really happy to see that the biggest clicks on my site are through the navigation or actually on the articles that I'm writing about. So that's really important to me. So they're not scrolling down, clicking on ads and stuff like that. They're actually, and the number one, it's always about like the latest thing I've written. So that's an important factor. This is a free service through Crazy Egg, and it's a really good service. I highly recommend it. And actually, I'm glad whoever's advertising up there in the very top right isn't here, because there's like no clicks on the ad at all. So, with the most important thing for contextual advertising is to know your CPC and why that's so important. The CPC is the cost per click. Basically, it's I think YPN now shows you your CPC, and AdSense, you kind of got to do the math yourself. But it's basically what you make divided by the clicks equals your cost per click, of what you're earning per click. So like, just in this example, you're basically making the same amount, but one is getting twice as many clicks, or more than twice actually. So who do you choose, right? Well, the winner would be the one that's paying you more CPC because, again, in order for you to get paid, people have to leave your site. So you're getting paid the same, and half as many people are leaving your site. So that's a good thing. So always go with the higher CPC. Tips for success. My number one tip is just test. Always be testing. Don't sell out. I mean, if you find people are clicking on a certain page, or a certain place on your page, it might be so tempting to throw a big, fat, square, contextual ad right there. But, you can test that, but, I would really refrain from doing it. Just because, especially if your content, I see so many blogs that have great content, but have just ad after ad, just big fat squares before you even get to the content, and I hate that. I won't even read the thing, I'm just like, whatever. So, that just annoys me, and I know most users feel the same way that I've talked to out there. So avoid trying to sell out. If you have good content and your goal is to get people to read your content, then don't sell yourself short for a few pennies when you could, get this person over the long haul. Analytics, of course, we covered. Very, very important over the long haul of your site. Heat maps, communication is vital. Google is harder to communicate with. They will always respond, but they're a lot of times, as Jen said, they won't be very specific. So, if you ask them a question, a lot of times they'll say, here's our terms of service. They won't actually say, yes, you can do that, no, you can't. YPN, on the other hand, I love them because if I want to test something that I feel is innovative in the gray area, like images next to ads, or I want to put ads in a listing of some sort, that's blending, yet maybe it's a little gray, that I feel it's gray. So I can just call them up. I mean, I can get them on the phone and say, hey, what do you think of this? And they'll look at it, and I don't have any special line in it because I'm a bigger advertiser or anything like that. I mean, I call the same number that you do and talk to the same people that you do. And they may not have a yes, but they'll probably have a, let me find out for you, which to me is a green light until I hear no. So, because a lot of times, you know, you can test at that point until they actually come back and say, no, you can't do that. But, and then you need to definitely adhere to what they say. So, and then with, definitely, there's a few things I didn't have on here, but you always want to rotate and test your ads between like Yahoo and Google, mainly because of banner blindness and everything. It's weird. You can have like, Google can be paying fantastic amounts, but you just rotate like 10% of the time with just anything else, and your clicks will go up just because people get such a banner blindness that you just throw anything there, even 10% of the time, you'll notice that your clicks will go up. So that's my presentation. I'd like to thank Jen for all her help that she's given me. Todd Malicote helped me with this presentation. Danny for inviting me. Greg Arnett for also helping me. So thank you all for listening.
Good stuff. We might have to change the title of this session from How to Make Money from Contextual to How to Not Get Busted Making Money from Contextual. We're going to open it up to your questions right now. I'm going to grab the mic and hopefully hands will be up.